93.5, 1590 WAKR. 15 minutes after 8, we're going to film school. Let's bring him in. Film study professor Joe Fortunato with us here at 93.5, 1590 WAKR. And Joe, before we get to the movie this week, which is celebrating an anniversary, great job. Last Saturday afternoon was Cycles. We took film school on the road down the Chili's. I think the crowd really, really liked it. Your work was top-notch, top shelf, and it was a really fun day down there on Saturday.
Well, thanks, Ray. I really appreciate that. And, of course, I had a blast. And I do hope that everyone who was down there did have a good time, had some fun, learned a little something, and enjoyed the film. And thanks again to Chili's for hosting us. And I hope we get to do it again.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. A lot of fun, and I know Joe was excited about it, too. Okay, let's go to another movie celebrating an anniversary this season. Dive into this one for us.
Yep, it's the 30th anniversary, in fact, actually today, of The Nightmare Before Christmas, which was released in the U.S. October 13th, 1993. Went wide later in the month to a wide release. It was directed by Henry Selick. Now, a lot of people say, wait a minute, I thought Tim Burton directed that film. We'll get to that in a minute. It was written by Tim Burton. In fact, the movie was even retitled later, Tim Burton's Nightmare Before Christmas. It stars Danny Elfman, Chris Sarandon, Catherine O'Hara, and Paul Reubens, who most of you know as Pee Wee Herman, who just passed, and we miss him. It had one Oscar nomination for visual effects. Now, you think, well, that must be a slam dunk for that. No, it lost it. It lost to Jurassic Park, which, of course, that's a worthy loss, I suppose, for visual effects. This was the first stop-motion animated film to get a PG rating by the MPAA. It was the first fully animated Disney film not to be traditionally animated. Now, some might say, well, what about Toy Story? That was a few years later, and that was, digital. This was stop-motion animation, and it was prior to that, all of Disney's films had been traditionally animated, as we know. At the time of its release, the film actually received mixed reviews and only kind of middling business. It made about $50 million on a $24 million budget. Now, that's a profit, so that's not terrible, but it actually grew in popularity over the next 10 years and sort of became a cult classic due to strong VHS and DVD rentals and sales. In fact, the makers were surprised later to learn about the vastness and popularity of the movie's merchandise. So I think today we really consider it a bona fide, beloved classic, but it was a slow burn for the film over its run. Tim Burton wrote an original poem that he was inspired to write after seeing Halloween merchandise display in a store being taken down and replaced by a Christmas display. And that sort of juxtaposition of ghouls and goblins and Santa and his reindeer kind of sparked his imagination, which is kind of brilliant because when you think about it, this sort of covers both holidays. So is it a Halloween movie? Is it a Christmas movie? I think of it as a Halloween movie, hence we're doing it this week. But it kind of works both ways. And like I said, it was a 3-page poem that he wrote when he was a Disney animator in the early 80s. And he also took some inspiration from great television specials like Rudolph and How the Grinch Stole Christmas, and the poem, A Visit from St. Nicholas. And at one point, he actually considered making this a TV special rather than a feature film.
Joe, isn't it kind of typical with Tim Burton films that they don't burn? It's an eclectic audience, and they keep wanting to go back watching them and watching them. It seems like they have a long lifespan on the shelf.
Well, I agree with that. I don't know if I would necessarily say they're all a slow burn. Batman certainly cuts into that theory, but definitely, things like Edward Scissorhands and Ed Wood was that might have been kind of a slow burn. But it definitely is a specific audience, and in fact, that was kind of one of the issues that the studio had. They said, "This, we don't really think this is going to do anything. It's too scary for kids. and you know, it's too weird and all that kind of stuff. So there wasn't a lot of support from the studio because it was Tim Burton. Most people already know the labor intensity of stop motion, but it took 100 people 3 years to complete this movie. For 1 second of film, up to 12 stop motion moves had to be made. So it's pretty crazy that it was it took so long. The teaser trailer stated that the film was originally intended to be released under the Walt Disney banner, but kind of in the proud tradition of Disney filmmaking. But like I already said, Disney was worried that the movie wasn't suitable for children, so they ended up switching it over to Touchstone Pictures, which was sort of their sister company, and it was marketed as Tim Burton's Nightmare Before Christmas, as I had mentioned. And that sort of led to the long-time misunderstanding that it was directed by Burton rather than Henry Selick. In fact, that was my memory. Henry and Tim Burton he doesn't deny that it was directed by someone else, but I think we all kind of agree collectively that the stamp of the film is very much a Tim Burton film.
Yeah.
There was a point in time where Walt Disney considered producing a sequel rather than using stop motion. They wanted to use computer animation. And Tim Burton nixed that. He convinced them to drop that idea, which I always appreciate when directors, I just made the mistake, creators, kind of take ownership of those films. Danny Elfman, who was a longtime collaborator of Tim Burton as a musical score writer, and he was originally the lead singer of Oingo Boingo, the band, if people remember that.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, he wrote the Nightmare's 10 songs, and he said it was one of the easiest jobs I ever had because I have a lot in common with Jack Skellington. And he loved it so much that he wanted to do the voice, and he mustered up the courage to ask his friend Tim Burton, "Hey, can I do the voice of Jack?" And before he finished, Burton said, "Hey, look, Danny, don't worry about it. You got the part." So Danny Elfman was chosen to voice Jack Skellington, but then it felt that his singing voice was great, but his speaking voice not so much, and it was too wooden and stiff. So he actually was replaced by Chris Sarandon, who people might know long ago as Al Pacino's boyfriend in Dog Day Afternoon. Mm-hmm. And so Danny Elfman did the singing voice for Jack Skellington, but the speaking voice was done by Chris Sarandon. Wow. And another fun sort of what might have been casting choice, Vincent Price was originally cast as Santa Claus. However, this was right after the death of Price's wife. His own health was failing, and his voice performance just wasn't very good. It was frail and weak, so they kind of decided that the tracks were unusable, and they had to recast the role. But how great would that have been to have Vincent Price there?
I agree. Good stuff. Film School, Joe Fortunato, The Nightmare Before Christmas. Joe, great stuff, my friend. Thanks again for jumping on board. We'll do it again next Friday.
Great. Look forward to it.
All right. There you go.